So I was going to talk about Movement for a People's Party because I was surprised because when I first heard about it, I thought, okay, these are bunch of disenchanted, disillusioned Bernie supporters who were just frustrated, and they were forming this new party, and it didn't have a snowball's chance in hell of getting anywhere. And then actually, then they got a lot of coverage, and they had their convention, they had um, Marianne Williamson, and you had a lot of big names, Cornel West, who were addressing this. So obviously, it's getting
Nina Turner,
some Nina Turner,
Jimmy Dore,
Jimmy Dore, right? All these people,
Chris Hedges.
Chris Hedges, a
Nah,
lot of names.
he hit the ball out of
Yeah,
the ballpark. He
that's
was number one. I'm sorry,
yeah.
no one else. That convention, it was Chris Hedges. It should have just been Chris Hedges.
Uh,
I mean, I really enjoyed. I thought it was really great. Such a contrast to the. I didn't really watch the other
such a
two,
contrast to the
but
others. Yeah,
but yeah, Chris Hedges. I'm sorry, I just need to
yeah.
say Chris Hedges was
He
Okay.
great.
was great.
So I was looking at their platform, and it's basically like it says. It emerged from Bernie Sanders' first presidential campaign platform, i.e., 2016, and it was voted on by members in March of 2018. And then it says the final platform will be passed at their founding convention in 2021. So obviously, the Movement for a People's Party has every intention of becoming a people's party. And being that playing the devil's advocate as I always do, I don't I don't see the party actually like. I think it's based on a faulty premise, which is somehow that they are going to form a third party. They're going to get a lot of support. They're going to get petitions to run candidates on the ballot. They're going to get elected, and then they're going to push through this platform of abolishing corruption and changing the tax code and all this stuff. And I don't see it happening because I just don't see it happening because there's so many impediments to that progress. Because like to that process, like, just trying to get candidates on the ballot as third party. I mean, the Green Party has traditionally had it's been difficult for years and years. And this new party, one of many, is going to be trying to get candidates on the ballot. And the idea is like somehow we're going to get 51% of the vote at least, and we're going to win these seats. I don't see it happening, and maybe they'll surprise me, but I don't see it happening. And I also see like the platform is kind of a wish list of everything on the left, and I agree with most of it, but they aren't really like they don't. As far as I can tell, they don't really explicitly address the Julian Assange, Snowden issues. It seems to me it's kind of like we're going to get elected and we're going to push through this platform, and I just think we need a much more kind of a movement, aggressive system of people really pushing back against the oligarchy. I don't see it happening at the ballot box. I mean, I see it's important to push for this kind of stuff, and I see it's important to push for candidates getting elected. But like, I wouldn't close the door on like Cori Bush in St. Louis just because she's a Democrat. Whereas the People's Movement for People's Party seems to say that we can't work. The Democratic Party is corrupt. We can't work within them at all. And I feel like you have to work with whatever you need, form alliances wherever you can. Even if you don't agree with somebody 100%, if you agree with them, 80%, you should form an alliance with them because the right is certainly doing that. And if the left is fractionalized and we're all separate trying to form our own parties, we're never going to get anywhere. So starting with that, I'd like to hear your thoughts on the People's Party. This is from the website here, and this is their platform right here.
No. See, I want to push back on that though. I don't think that is quote unquote their platform, right? So the last action they've actually taken was at the end of the convention. I've got the vote right here.
Okay.
Basically, they pushed out the question, do we commit to forming a major new political party free of corporate money and influence in 2021? So they're still in formation. This platform is not like a signed off platform for the new party. This is still a projected possible list of items that could find their way into the platform for the Movement for a People's Party. It's not the final platform. So that's
Okay.
that's one thing. Yeah.
Okay.
It's still Yeah, and you're right. The formation was absolutely with a draft Bernie intention, I believe, and it was basically formed from the ashes of 2016 Bernie. But it is evolving away from that, and I think we still remains to be seen what it becomes. But yeah, it's going to be largely consist of Bernie type things. And maybe you're alluding to the same thing where Bernie was not as active in addressing things we would like him to have, such as Assange and so forth. There sometimes seems to be a reticence on the part of the Movement for People's Party as well.
I mean, to me, it's not angry enough. Like Trump got elected on anger. People were like angry at the swamp, and people were angry at the NAFTA or whatever. And Trump was able to co-opt that sentiment and use it to get elected. And I think like
right.
To me, it's just not enough anger. Like it's like, okay, we're gonna get out there and have meetings and get petitions signed and get candidates and get them elected and push this through. It's like, I don't know what planet you're on, but like it's not going to happen here, in time for all the stuff that's going on with economy, with climate, with nuclear weapons, with everything. It's like to me, it seems like there's a lot of good stuff here, but it's missing the element of like we need people need to be pissed off, and people need to like say we want this now. Like and they say like with the tax thing, they say well, under Roosevelt and in the early 50s, the tax rate was above 90%, the top marginal tax rate. It said, well, we're not going to go that high. It's like, why the fuck not? These people should pay, like there's no reason that a trillionaire should not be paying 90%, like above whatever it is, above $50 million. They should be paying 90% of that in taxes. I don't understand why they're so timid about it. So
well,
I would like to see. I would like to see more.
I don't know. Maybe because other parties are so bad that they think that a lot of folks would like go for them, even if they didn't push to the extreme or something. But I know what you're saying. It's not really, in our viewpoint, that really wouldn't be extreme. There's no reason for anyone to have $1 trillion, right?
Right. I mean, it's just I don't know. That's my feeling.
Well, I think it comes down to almost like an image problem, right? It's funny. I actually used to work at Nordstrom, right? And I always used to say that Nordstrom always had an image problem because they wanted to come off as this brand that, or this store that any person can come into. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to be like, you don't have to go to Saks Fifth Avenue, that's where the rich people go. But Nordstrom, like, your regular Joe Schmo can go in there and you can also shop. But the problem was that the prices never reflected that, And so that's why I always used to say, it's like you have an image problem. You need to decide what you want to be. And for the Movement for a People's Party, I feel almost like they're going to be labeled extremists, no matter what. If you're going to be labeled that, run with it, go with it,
Yeah.
Like, and what I'm picking up from what you're saying, Steve, is that you want an actual leftist opposition party that is unapologetic about being leftist and wanting to bring about these changes.
I want a movement more than a party. So like if the movement consists of People's Party and Democrats and socialists and some fringe Republicans working together, more power to it. I mean, as far as, I don't know if I don't think we should be fixated on the party as opposed to like just getting shit done, because like thinking we're going to do it through the ballot box or through the party system, that's just one little tool you have in your toolbox. And as far as I'm concerned, you need a whole movement.
Which I agree with, but so the only pushback that I would give to that is like, for instance, so we've seen what's been going on for months now with all the protests, right? So that would be the opposite of what you're saying, right? That's not taking it to the ballot box. It's actually getting out on the street and doing stuff. But what has come about from that? And I'm not saying that you're not right in thinking what you're saying. What I'm saying is that also doesn't work. It needs to be a combination. And that's what I think that Movement for a People's Party is trying to do, where they're trying to merge those two parties. The sense of it's the activist side, the people on the street, the doing stuff, but also the legislative side.
I would say that people on the street have accomplished something, and just creating an awareness. I mean, so many young people have been energized by that, and have been, engaged where they weren't before. So they might go out and vote now because of that. Or so. I mean, it's had also, there's been a lot of negative, obviously negative reaction to it as well. But and I'm also thinking not just activism, like, holding signs in the street or protesting, but actually lifestyle changes. So we're talking about like people starting to say, well, I'm gonna start using cryptocurrencies where I can, instead of the mainstream currency. Or I'm gonna rely more on barter or whatever. I'm gonna start using my economic power as a person to change the system. I'm gonna eat less meat. I'm gonna do whatever. And the party should be pushing some of those things. Like, here are some guidelines. This is how much wealth a person should be living, within. They should be above a certain level in wealth. They should have these certain basic needs fulfilled, such as healthcare, housing, meaningful work, etc. But at the top, there has to be a cutoff point where saying, if you're above, $50 million or $100 million in wealth, like, you don't need that money. Like, it should be, if you want to go for it, more power to you, but it should be taxed at a very high rate. And that should be part of the platform. It seems to me it has to be focused on people's um, uh, uh, individual lives. Because it's when everybody starts changing the way they live, that's when things really change. It's not just a matter of going and voting. That's not what democracy is. Not just voting. It's like changing your lifestyle, your carbon footprint, all these things. And I know, Daisy, you live that. I mean, you drive your electric vehicle, and but everybody's got to do it at their own pace, at their own within their own means. But like, they can make decisions. And even people who are so-called, powerless people at the bottom, they can make decisions. Like, like, there's better ways to eat than going through and getting dollar meals at McDonald's at the drive-through. There are ways you can eat better and actually spend the same amount of money or less money. And we should be, encouraging that kind of stuff, as well as trying to. I think it's a movement. So it's not just the activism on the streets. It's not just voting, but it's people changing the way they live. And I don't know, I don't want to be like Big Brother and tell people you have to live this way, but the idea is like, you know, it's a necessity to have change, to have people actually change the way they live, because they can't still go to Walmart and buy their 50-inch TV and expect that we're going to be super progressive, because it's all built on that system of exploitation and cheap labor and cheap materials, and that's going to have to change. What do you guys think of that?
So my quick take on that is, what you're saying is, it's good. The things that have been happening with protests and so forth are good for changing hearts and minds and getting more people thinking about these issues, right? But we're already there. We already have 70% of people want Medicare for all, right? But so at what point does the dam burst, and what does the dam burst really look like, right? If basically the Democrats can push down the demand, and their party is like 85% or something for Medicare for all, they can push that down and elect Biden and absolutely commit to protecting the Affordable Care Act, i.e., protecting the profits of insurance companies. What does a dam burst looking like? Because the dam's gonna burst, and I thought maybe the protests in the street was the dam bursting, but I think we're still just generating more demand for the policies that you're talking about, Steve. But we're not there yet. I mean, the two parties, the duopoly, still rules supreme, right?
Well, I don't know if they rule supreme, but they still, but there are cracks showing, and I think the dam could burst. But I mean, what it takes is like a Montgomery bus boycott level of civil disobedience and economic change on a local, personal level, to really start these movements. I'm thinking of like Gandhi type movement in India, against the British, or where you actually you get the oligarchs where it hurts, right? So what do they you got to think about what they want. They want the system of low taxation, of basically free labor, and if you interrupt that system, that's where it hurts them. So how do we do that? That's the question.
And Biden saying that he wants to increase the military budget.
Yeah, I mean, Biden's just like, I mean, the problem is there's this specter of fascism now, right, with Trump. But I mean, the fact is that Biden's like fascism light, right? But I mean, Trump is really scary, and people are like, okay, we got to get rid of Trump. But it's not. That's just a. I mean, this was inevitable that we're going to head towards this fascist system, and it doesn't. It's not because of Trump. It's because of the system that's existed for decades before that. Um, you know.
So what I think is that Steve, you've been talking about for weeks now that you and Caitlin Johnson has also been talking about how we need a consciousness change, right? Like, so that's
right.
what you've been talking about.
Exactly.
And I totally agree with that. I think that is what we need. I think that that's something that actually comes about from just your environment and the circumstances. And that's what's happening now, is that the circumstances are calling for people to change the way that they're looking at policing standards and all this kind of stuff, right? I just think that the Movement for People's Party, and I'm not like endorsing them. I'm not like, I've already told you I'm going to vote Green for this election because I think that the Greens as a party, they actually hold the values and everything about the platform and everything is what I agree with. But I think that the Movement for People's Party is just like the vehicle that people are using in order to spread that consciousness, just, you know what I'm saying, to kind of continue going forward, because we can't just think that, if things just keep going the way that they're going and we continue to just have, unfortunately for a lot of people, what they see as just the two parties in control, then it's just going to create even more apathy and even more people checking out, you know what I'm saying? And just not wanting to be involved at all. And that is very dangerous. We can't have that, because unless we're just gonna not have government at all, you know what I'm saying? And if that's the case, all right, then let's just go that way. But we can't have it where it's like, we're kind of half in, but not really,
I mean, if the People's Party can take off and they get like candidates and they get them elected, I mean, I'm all for that. I just don't know if I'm going to spend like the lion's share of my efforts on that, as opposed to like, if I had a Cory Bush type candidate here, would I be working for them, even if they're running as a Democrat? Because like, yeah, we have this duopoly, but I see like also like I see this kind of progressive left moving up, that the mainstream DNC doesn't like, but I think they should be supported as well. I don't think we should close the door on any of these efforts. These efforts have to coalesce somehow. And I don't think like, I don't believe in the silver bullet. And to me, sometimes the People's Party looks like a silver bullet. Like I think like if we can just do this, everything will be fine. And I think it's one of the tools in the arsenal to, in the toolbox to try to, build what you're trying to build. So I'm not going to stop anybody from doing it, and I think and I might even volunteer with them. I don't know, but I mean, I want to see something that works. I want to see something come together, and to me, like it just seems very idealistic.
Yeah, I think they have. I mean, the folks from the Bernie organization, Our Revolution, et cetera, that are behind this, and there's some Greens that are in there at the higher levels and everything. These are people with a lot of experience. And I think they are pushing for the ideals that we would support. And I think it's it could go either way as far as I could see. It could break down into some kind of infighting like the Greens have experienced recently, or it could absolutely take off. I mean, they seem to be realistic at this point that they first need to get ground floor level candidates in there. Who knows? At some point, maybe you will see, some of the better candidates in the Dem Party jump over, and then it just might catch fire.
Right.
But no matter what, I think it's a really positive thing because they are talking about and pushing for policies that we want. They're all the most important things. I wish they'd talk a little more about Assange and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But the most important things from Medicare for all and anti-war and things like that, they do have a really real great voice that we need involved there.
I agree. I just think the party route is necessarily is an uphill. Like you're trying to ride a tricycle up Mount Everest. It's not going to happen. I think I think having a coalition of like having a like what the Justice Democrats do, but not for just the Democratic Party. Have it be for the whole left, and have kind of like you ascribe to these principles, you agree to these principles, therefore you get the imprimatur, the
That's exactly
approval.
what I was saying. Remember?
Yeah, no, I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying that like that's going to be more effective to say,
Yeah.
okay, this candidate, they're running as a Democrat, but they're approved by the Movement for People's Party because they support blah 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 blah
Yeah,
blah
that's
whatever.
That's great.
And keep it simple. Don't if you have a silver bullet thing where you have 100 different things listed, well, they might disagree on 10 of them, and therefore they're not going to get approved. Have it like 3 things, like taxation, fairness in elections, whatever, get money out of politics. I don't know, whatever it is, or 5 things. Keep it simple and say if you agree on those things, you may not agree with us 100%, but we're going to give you a stamp of approval, and then the voters will know, okay, they'll vote for this candidate because they like this candidate, whatever, and they say, oh, they're supported by this Movement for People's Party. I never heard of them. Well, maybe I'll look them up. I'll find out about them. Rather than trying to go through that vehicle, the Movement for People's Party, to achieve what you want to achieve. Work with existing. Use the Aikido technique of using your opponent's, aggression to achieve what you want. So if someone's running for something, you may not agree with 100%, but like if they're supporting certain principles, you can support them, and you get to where you want to go. By using their I don't know, I didn't express that very well, but the problem is that the left we're too fractionalized.
Well, it's the basics of the coalition idea that Daisy had talked about various times, where what are your most important things moving for People's Party and peace? I mean, Medicare for all and peace, anti-war, etc. And then all the parties, the Greens and Libertarians, where they're anti-war, and Move for People's Party, and even the Dems that are anti-war, et cetera, have those, basically say we are aligned with this candidate where they're anti-war, et cetera, push those ideas. But I do want to say for the Move for People's Party, though, they're also activists, right? So they also get people involved in activism, like the case where they were going to representatives' houses to shame them for not voting for COVID help for citizens, etc. They're that's an important aspect to being, and I hope they stay that way. I hope they continuously have actions. Their hierarchy and their structure is such that they have folks that are in charge of actions, folks that are in charge of this and that. So I think that's going to be an ongoing part of their existence.
And again, I would like to see what's going on at a local level. I think maybe that we should pursue that at a future date and see, is there any, M.P.P, are they involved with local races at all?
My understanding is that is what their focus is going to be.
Good.
Local.
That's my understanding.
They're not they would like to run somebody in 2024 for president, but from my understanding, that is not their main focus. And also the other thing that I was going to say is that as far as the People's Party goes, I don't know what their stance is on working with other parties or whatever, but I do know that people like Nina have said that we do need to work with people that are also still in the Democratic Party. We need to have several strategies working for us all at once. So the people that are spearheading or the figureheads of this movement, they have expressed that they want it to be sort of like a coalition, obviously with the emphasis and the focus on People's Party, but also they understand that, they have to work with other people, which is why you had a lot of people that on the at the convention, they were saying that that they're going to hold their nose and they're going to vote for Biden and all that, but that they understand that it's just because they need to get Orange Man out and blah, blah, you know what I'm saying, but they understand that they need to work with the parties, because unfortunately you have to, they're the ones who they do have the majority in our legislature, not the people.
All right. Good conversation.